Hello everybody and welcome to another tutorial in camera and lens repair. And this time will also be a lens repair because I will try to show how to fix the very stiff focusing ring in the Helios 44M, and it's a aperture 2 and it is a 58mm lens. Focal lens, and I will re-grease it with the LM47 with the MOS2, which is molybdenum disulfide or so. And it's actually that kind of stuff here, which actually looks like some graphite grease, something like that. Well, I just put it in a small jar, film container, which is quite good. Now, the lens has a problem. The focusing is quite stiff, in a way. So I would suggest that is the aperture is really good, working as it should. But the aperture, the focusing ring is way too much stiff. So I would like to show how we possibly can do that. Get it to really soft and buttery in the focusing ring. We need some tool for this task. At least a tweezer is very handy, a pointy one. Some dentist tool, which is I actually bought in a second-hand shop, really good quality. There is a really pointy one, and there are some with the real thin kind of metal. And of course we need some old flathead screwdrivers, because this is an old lens with flathead screws. And I use a 2.5mm for this case and a 1.2mm. So we also need a something to actually take off the front nameplate. We could use a compass. This is just a old steel compass, but it's really good for lens work and also camera some. But we could also use a gasket for plumbing, which I found in the hardware store in the plumbing section. And they are good because they're really sticky rubber and very reliable. Will have a long I could also use my my famous rubber cones from Japan Hobby Tool. They are also good, but in some cases it's a bit more sticky, those plumber gaskets. And I also need, I made a little tool out of, it's actually because there are two, we will see it sooner in the video. There are two small steel balls, something around here, and there is something over here. And when setting on the aperture ring, I need a tool to make it much more easy to press the steel ball down and then put the aperture ring on. This is just very simple. It's actually taken from a circuit board from an old electronic device, and it's the cover here for protection the components from electronic signals and so. And it's really strong. It's stainless steel, so it's quite good and easy to form in a shape that will fit in here somewhere. But let's have a go on it and jump into it. First of all, we need to unscrew the nameplate. That's it. And we can, well, I could use the rubber tool, just if you have some of those. It's sticky. Or I could have used this compass. It doesn't really matter. I mean, whatever fits you best is what it is important. Just to not scratch the lens. Now this is full metal. I mean, it's aluminium. And then we come into the front. This front barrel, which before I took it apart, set a small mark here, which is in line with the index mark, just so we have it in correct place when assemble it again, which is important. And I will unscrew unscrew the 3 screws around here, and nothing special. They are short screws. So there. It's good with a magnetized screwdriver because it's much more easy to actually take the screws out here, as you can see, which is a good thing. And if it's hard to reach the screws, you better have your one thumb against the screwdriver, so you will not damage anything. Now, off with that ring. That's it. Nothing special about that. And now we come to something more important, because set the lens to infinity. And we will do that. Oh shit, it's very stiff. And then, which is the most important thing at the moment, you see here, set a mark on the inside of the focusing ring, and also on the brass helicoid. I mean, it's actually the outer helicoid. Set a mark there, and also here where the screws is, the one screw is for the lens assembly. It's important because it's our starting point. So we'll just do a small mark here. I already have done it. There, and inside the focusing ring. There. Now we have our starting position for that, but I will not continue with this before I have taken off the mount. So off with the end cap here, and set the lens to 16 aperture, all the way over there, 16, and the M and A button, set it to M. Now the aperture is fully closed. It will make sense. Now unscrew 3 screws. It will say this, this, and this one. And yeah, take good care when you lift out the mount here, because the aperture ring here, if you just pull it off, there are 2 steel balls that will disappear somewhere, or also 2 springs. So keep that in mind. Now, have the index mark away from you, because also here I just set a simple mark here. You could also set a mark here with a felt pen, just so you know where it is. I mean, you cannot assemble the things in a wrong way because the screws are offset, but keep it in mind. So 1 screw here, and they are much longer than their front one, as you can see here. Keep them away. And so that's away, and have a good grip on it here, so it will not just fall off. So for that, and then have a good grip on the aperture ring here and here, and then you can actually pull off the mount. And here what we see. So this is how it looks. This notch here goes to the pin here, which is again connected to the back of the lens here. If we set it to auto, it will work something like that, and we can just do it there. See how it works. I mean, there's missing is part of the spring here. I mean, somebody have made cut off the spring, so it was a little shorter, I guess. But well, it's not a problem. So away with that. Now there are 2 steel balls. The steel ball under here, right under here, and there is also another one over here. It is actually very close to the, I set a little mark here, you could also do so, but it's close to the name, I mean where it was made. And the other one is actually close to the index mark, which you can see here. So when you take it off, you should just have a good grip down here where the one mark was for 1 steel ball, and then you just gently pull it out and wiggle a little, so the steel ball is there, as you can see. The other one is of course on the other side. It's right there, and we'll just take it away so it will not disappear. They are quite small, so don't lose them. And we also take the other one. Probably I should also take out the small spring which is in here. You can see quite small. So don't lose them. I don't know if you can get another one from another lens, but you could have some problems with that. Oh, go away. They're really sticky with the old grease or something. So, away with that. Now, what we see in here is actually the back of the lens assembly, and we also see the aperture, part of the aperture ring, which is here, and we could just do so. And it also needs some attention. It's a bit stiff, I think, but we will manage to fix that. Before I take it apart, it is also a good thing we have the index mark, which is our reference. Now set a little tiny mark up here, this mark here, because I will take off the aperture ring off, and I will also take out the inner aperture ring, so I need to know exactly where it should sit. So just make a scratch up here. I just set an infinity mark here, and also up here, so I know exactly where it should sit. And in that way I can just pull out the aperture ring, I mean the inner, and then that way get it off, hopefully. So there, wiggle a little, so there it is, off. Funny shape it has, really different from many other lenses. Now we have the more important thing, because we make more marks in here. If you see here, the mark I set here is actually the inner, I mean the we could see here, it's quite stiff in a way. Now this is set the mark here in line with the index mark is the lens assembly that sits here. And we also need to have the guide pins, the helicoid key that sits here and there. And it is also good to set a little mark here. Somebody has been in here before me, but set one here and also a one up here. There, doesn't matter how nice it is. On the other hand, there was set a number 2 mark here. It doesn't matter, but we just need to know how they sit when they were putting in. And I also need to set a mark down here, so I know this is number 1. So it's also number 1 here, as you can see. Now, as I know that, we turn it over and set the lens again, I mean the focusing, to infinity there. And now we can actually unscrew the 3 screws here on the front. And take out, in that way we can take out the whole lens assembly. it's a bit sticky. Even if I have been into the lens before. Move. Now have a good grip here, because when I unscrew the last screw, the whole lens assembly could fall out. So have a good hand on the back. So now here we can see the lens assembly is actually it's possible to move it. And on the other hand, if I turn it over, we can see on the back what's going on. So I can wiggle it out. This has a tight fit, and that way. So this is how it looks. This is the whole lens assembly with the aperture system and all. So now put it away, and then we have the helicoil system here, which I really need to clean with some isopropyl or lighter fluid. It depends on what I have. Now, before we actually do anything more, it's important to just check you set a mark here on the aperture ring, the focusing ring, and especially here on the inner, the outer helicoil. This one is the inner helicoil. Now I can move the focusing ring only from one end to the other. Oh, it's quite stiff. It's more the inner helicoil that is the most stiff of those two. The outer is really also stiff, but not so much. It's the inner that is the important thing. So I can right now take off the focusing ring itself and take care, because when you unscrew it, there are 3 screws around here, one there, there, and there. Right now there is a stop at infinity, but when I unscrew the focusing ring, there's no stop. So keep that in mind. And I will use a 1.2mm flathead screwdriver to just loosen just a few turns, no more than that. So that's it. And the last one here, only 1 or 1.5 turn should be enough. So then I should be, not yet, there was one screw here that was not enough, maybe a little more, and no, it needs a little, maybe quarter or turn, half a turn, and then I can take it off. Now you see, since I have been into the lens before, I also, in line with the index mark here, which is my reference, set the first mark I set, it was actually here. But I will also set a mark down here, which is in line with the index mark. It's good, and it's really important not touching, not turn at all the helicoil here, because I also need to take off the index ring, and that also sit with 3 screws here. Just loosen the screws a little, no need for unscrew them. So that's it, and the last one there should be enough. Now hold on the back here and lift off the index ring. That should be fine. Not it just missed a little, so that should be enough. And off for that. That's it. It's not doing nothing special. You could screw in the set screws a little, so you will not lose them. Keep it away. And now we have the actual focus helicoil, the naked focus helicoil. So we will work at one helicoil at a time. This is important because what we need to do is actually set a mark before unscrew the helicoil. It will say both here and up here. It's important because when you just unscrew it, you just unscrew it just like normal, and you forgot to count how many turns and where the helicoil came off the thread. So, of course, I've taken some notes, which is good to do before actually doing anything. It will say the inner helicoil will come off after around almost 1.5 turn till off, and it will be around 5 o'clock as you refer to a watch. Now I also measure how long is it from here, the front, to the outer helicoil. I will do that before I take it apart. So I will measure from here to there. Can we have some focus there? And it should be something around 1.26 or so. It will say something like that. It's around 1.26 millimeter. So now I can actually unscrew it. It will say I have to unscrew almost 1.5 turn till it comes off around here. It's really sticky, so have a good grip here on both the back and on the focus, the outer helicoil too. And I have to go, what you say, it's a right hand. It will say I have my mark here, and I will count until I get to the next. You see, it's really sticky, and I have my mark there again, my index mark here, and my mark on the inner helicoil, and I have to turn it all the way over to something like that here. It will say around 5 o'clock, and very gently there it comes off. This is how it is. It's really a long thread, but we can see the old sticky grease, really sticky. So that's it. Don't forget to, I mean, it is in this case, in my lens, it could be different in your lens. On the other hand, the outer helicoid has to, I have to turn it almost 7 turns. It will say 6 and something like 55 or so. And it will come off at around 2 o'clock. It will say my index mark is here, and it will come off at around here, something like that. I actually set a mark here, you can see. So turning it, and it will go left, I mean as a normal screw. So my mark is here. Maybe I should just give it a better color here, so it's easier to see. Smells not good. No. Here it will say, where did it go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now it will come off up here. So I would think it would be the same in your lens. So we are on the way to the 7th or the 6th, something like that. Here we have the mark, and here it will come off, and it will say there. So now you can see it's whoa, old gunky grease. So that's it. It's the same. I mean, we just have to assemble it in reverse. But now I'll go to to actually clean the 3 helicoids here, and I will be back after that. Oh, well, I took it apart, and I just forgot to measure the how long the outer helicoid was from the front to the back. So, and I have earlier, because I have been into the lens, measured it should be something like 28.45 millimeter at infinity. And when it's close to here, it is actually at infinity, as you would say. So now let's measure how long it actually is, and it should be something like that. Yeah, I ended up with 28.44 millimeter, so that's fine. Okay, I will then re-grease the helicoid, the outer, I mean the middle helicoid and the outer helicoid, and I will do it with the LM47 here, with it's the liquid moly. I think it is good in some lenses, but let's see how good it is here. The tolerance is well, quite good in this old lens. So I will just use a little and see how good it is. Maybe it's too stiff, or, well, I don't know yet, but just use a little as possible. We can always wipe away the rest of it if it's too much, and a little too much maybe. So let's see. Yeah, not much. Let's see how good it will be. My infinity mark here. here at the outer helicoil, and my arrow where the helicoil actually came off the thread. So I just have to catch it again, or sometimes it's better to just go a little away and in that way go backward or forward depending on how the thread is. My mark is there and it should say click, and there we are. So it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and here we are. But I think actually here it's a bit too stiff in my opinion, so I would like to try with the Japan Hobby Tool grade 10, which is very soft and well, which is not so good. It has been in the container for a very long time, and some of it has been separated. I know it's really difficult to see here because it's so white, but it's really a lot of oil, so I will just use the one that is, there are something on the lid inside here which I can use. It's just a very little, so I will just clean it and came back to to lubricate it again with a different, with the grade 10. So see you sooner. And now I will continue with the to lubricate with the Japan Hobby Tool. As said, I have cleaned the helicoil again because it was a little too stiff. Way too stiff for me. So I would like it buttery or something. So I just take what is on the lid, which is not really much. There is a lot of separated oil in here, so I'll not use it directly from the deep of the jar. So I will just need another brush, which I only use for this the grade 10 grease, and just a little. Does not have to be much more than this, maybe a little too much. Well, we'll see. And yeah, we'll just go on and do it very lightly. Has to go all the way around, so it will be really good, hopefully. I think it's a better grease for this option, even if it's separate. Now let's find my index mark where I have it. Well, I should find the arrow where the helicoil came off. So let's just put it on. Maybe I should also lubricate the outer helicoil here, but let's see how it will go. Just find the correct thread here, and sometimes it's better if you go a little backward or forward depending on if it's a left hand thread or right hand. So we just go back and find my arrow here, and it says click. Well, a little maybe before, but it doesn't really matter. So I go back to my index mark here, and that was the first turn, and that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Wow, feels much better. Yeah, I think it will be what it is. So now I will lubricate the other, the inner helicoil. I think this will be okay. And then I will also use a little direct from the lid, and maybe I should just lubricate it in here. Just a little, and we can take some of it and gently move it to other places. Doesn't have to be much, but maybe we just need a little more from the jar lid. So there. It will find its way into the thread when I screw in the inner helicoil. I think we have to we need to have a little bit more, not much, but yeah, I think that will be fine, but let's give it a try. And again, we have to find the index mark is up here, but the point where the inner thread came off was something around my index up here. It was something like down here at around 5 o'clock or so. And I have my mark here on the inner helicoil, which I set in the very beginning before I took it apart. So the only thing I need to do is simply set the mark here, the focusing ring. My mark is here, the other mark is there. So just get it into the thread and wiggle a little. And again, one could probably go the other way over here, and it will hopefully find the correct thread. Sometimes it can be a little tricky, but there it is. Not really. We do it again. There. There it is. Yeah. Okay, there. And it has just to go, 1.5 turn. It will say the first half will be from down here all the way up to the infinity mark here, and which is right now, and then I only miss one full turn from here. It will say all the way up to here. Give it a go so the grease will fully go into the thread, and there's really not much left, but I would like to get rid of it because there's too much. I could use a small cotton bud to just move it so, but nah, it's not really the best thing to do. So I will unscrew this 7 turns, and we can just have this on here. No, maybe it's better to just take this off. So here it is, and off it came, and then I can, yeah, it's easy, just wipe away a little of the rest of it, and in that way, so there's not too much in here. and we could also go in here and take some of it away. Just need another cotton bud. And in that way we can get the rest of it off. There's no need for there's too much in here. It will probably separate, and if there is too much, well, we have the oil on the aperture blades or something like that. Now we give it another go and find the off mark here, and my mark is there, here. So I just have to find the correct thread, which will be a little tricky. One have to wiggle a little with the thread. Okay, we do it that way. Again, there it says click, and it says click, and it should say one click again. There. Then we should have it. Now. Okay. Yeah, you can see sometimes it's a little problem to put the helicoils in again. It can be a little challenge. Because there are so many threads to actually let's see, we can try it again. Very gently. Come on, it says click. There, here we are. Now my index mark is up here and my mark was there, so that was from down here up to here, almost a half turn. Then I just need to go one full revolution counterclockwise, and here I'm back on my position for the index mark. So everything is okay now. We could just measure how long is it actually from the it should be something like 29.65. so let's see how good it is. At least is something. Well, need to have there. Well, well, we are there. That's pretty good. So everything is lined up as it should. Now, off with that, and off with the grease here. I think I will probably use it on the aperture ring here, which also need to come on. And yeah, I think I will just do that. Oh gosh. So the next thing is I will put the index ring on here, and it can only sit in one position because of the boring here. There are 3 of them there, so it should just go into there. Maybe I have to loosen the screws a little, but it should not be a problem. So I can just screw them in. there, and I have my index mark in line with the little mark I set in the beginning of the video when I took it apart. So you can see this is why it is so important to set reference marks where things should sit before you took it apart and where they will come into correct place again. Wow, it feels very buttery. That's great. Now then I can actually put the focusing ring on. So I also have my stop here at infinity. So and since I have marks here, I also have a mark inside here, the focusing ring, which should be in line with the marks up here. And since there's also small set screws in here, I will just put it on and as close as possible to the index mark. Yeah, I can see there is a little problem here. I just need to loosen the small set screws, not unscrew them fully, but just maybe 1 or 1.5 turn, so you can put the focusing ring on the helicoil. So that's it. Nothing has moved. So there. Then I can put this focusing ring on here. Have a good grip on it. It cannot go any further. And we can just screw it in. So there. And it should end up in line with the index mark here on the focusing ring. If not, one could just push a little. That should be enough. And then screw it in. You do not have to tighten the screws very much, just very gently. If you tighten the screws too much here, you will make the focusing helicoil very harder to actually move. So now you can see, wow, it's actually really good. I mean, the gloves are a bit slippery, so I think it's pretty good for the moment. So there. Now, next thing is we need to put in the actual lens block, lens assembly, and simply find the mark here on the top of that, which should be here with this mark here, and it will say this gap here from the aperture should sit against the index mark. So now I can actually fully put the lens assembly into the focusing helicoil, but before doing so I also need to give it a little grease on the helicoil key. They also need a very little amount. It will say here and there, and on the other. Does not have to be much. So that should be enough, hopefully. And then I can add the lens assembly in here, and it can be a little tricky to put in. Just have to, it has to click into place with the 2 notches for each, I mean 1 notch for each of the helicoil key, and that would be fine. one also have to align the inner helicoil till the see there, so the holes, the screw holes here that holds the lens assembly sits correct. So let's see how it will be if I have a screwdriver here. So there, have a good finger here so the lens assembly will not fall out. It can be a little tricky to put in. Now, here we are. And don't tighten them yet fully, because we know we probably have to make some small adjustment here. Maybe, it's not sure. And there. Then we can fully screw it in. Just tighten them gently so we know there is not something that is binding. So let's see. Wow. Wow, that's really good. It's really good. I mean, if the gloves was not so sticky, one could actually move it quite easy. But to me, it's much better than it was. So that's it. Now I can continue with the inner aperture ring that is connecting to the actual pin here, and then connected to the outer aperture ring. So let's see. And since I also set a mark here in the beginning, here, as you probably remember, hopefully, that it will also go in reference to the index mark. That's why it is so important to set small marks. So I will just add a very little amount of grease here on the inner aperture ring. Very little. That should be enough. It will move the rest of the grease into place, so it's not a problem. But maybe I also need to just make it better. In the notch here on each side of the aperture ring, it will probably also need a little amount of like grease. Because when the focusing move the lens assembly into the notches here, it has to move very easy. So many things to think about. That should be enough for that. And probably also, no, that should be fine. Just give it a little go on the 2 pin here, and then I can simply put it in here. Have to go over the 2 pins you see here and slide it in. Where's my index mark there? So I think it will be pretty good. Now, the next thing is we need to lubricate the outer aperture ring, at least with the notches for the ball bearing, steel ball, and probably add a little grease here on around, so it will be nice and smooth to move. Remember, there are two sets of steel balls for the click, and you can see there's also a gap here, this gap, and there's also a gap here. Oh, probably can see there, one on each side. So now we need to put in the small spring on each side of the lens body, and for that I will just use my small tweezer, and I would think in this case I will just use some liquid moly to add on the spring and then the hole here, just a tiny amount, so the spring will not fall off and the steel ball will not at all fall off. Maybe I blend the two greases. Well, I think it is not a problem here. So in with the tiny spring, and it sits there, the other one, and I think, yeah, oh, very sticky. I will just give it a little one so it will not just disappear. So now here it sits where it should, and next thing is the steel ball, two of them, so we can just add them on here, and they should not fall off, hopefully. And the other one here. So now next thing is, and I would like to try my new tool which I made specially for this case. We have the index mark here, and we have to find 16 or something like that. I mean, it's on aperture 2 at the moment. So catch the small gap, I mean notch here, should go into the bottom. I mean, you have the aperture scale here. It will go up here beside the index area. This gap here will go into that pin, and of course the other gap here, which we can see here, will go to the upper, I mean closest to the index area. So now we put it on and do so on, and then it should go into the pin here. Can be a little tricky. So, and the next thing is now to get the steel ball into correct position. I mean, you cannot just push in the aperture ring. So what I'm gonna do is, I made this tiny piece of stainless steel from something electronic shield. It's something like 0.16 millimeter thick, and I bend it a little into shape of the area where the steel ball sits. So the thing is, I can just have a little open here and put it over the aperture steel ball, then press it down a little and then push in the aperture ring itself. But, well, sometimes things work, sometimes not. But as you can see here, there is a little problem here, because the other steel ball did not came into place. So have it tight here where the steel ball is, and we can just open it again, and you'll see the steel ball has disappeared. Not really, but I need to put it into the correct position again, if it's possible. There. So it should sit there. Now we try it again. Another go. Press it down a little, push in the aperture ring, and now you can see it works as it should. Wow, really good. Great solution for a annoying problem. So it's just probably I mentioned it. It came from a circuit board like this, and those shield that was on above the component, I just cut it in a shape and bent it, so it was, well, a good big success. That works. Now then I can just assemble the rest of the thing, the lens. Wow, really good, much better than it was. So I will simply assemble the rest of it. This pin here, aperture pin, goes into the notch here, and we have to set it on infinity. It will make it a lot more easier to see, because if the lens is down, it's difficult to connect, to catch the small notch here with the pin here. So what I'm gonna do is set the lens to infinity, as you can see. Now put the back of it over, and then you could see it is much easier to just put it on and put it over the back of the lens. Now, since I also set a small mark here on the back in the beginning, it should be in line with the index mark, and it will make it much easier to just put in the screws here. Just catch the hole, they should be somewhere, and with my screwdriver just screw it in. So there. Wow. That's great. Not really much resistance, which is fine for me. Sometimes some people, they wanted a really stiff focusing ring, and sometimes people want it very buttery. So it depends. Nothing is right and nothing is really wrong in that case. Ooh, there. Tighten it good, not too much. So, and here we are with a much better focusing ring. Well, it was not the case for the Liquid Moly, so but it was good for the Grade 10. Now the front ring here goes in here, and as I said in the beginning, a small mark here. It should also go in line with the index mark here. So I can just put it on and it should be lined up as it should. Put on the 3 small screws around, and then the nameplate will be screwed in, and then we are done. Sometimes it can be a little tricky to put in screws like this to catch the thread. Don't tighten it gently yet, because we need to have the 2 other screws also in. There. And so. And the rest screw here. And so there it is, and tighten the last one. So, and then the nameplate has to be screwed on. Catch the thread, and we'll just use our rubber tool thingy, or whatever tool you prefer. It could also be a compass or something to tighten the front. But now things are working as it should. Fully open, fully closed, and if I set it to A, it will fully open. If I press here, it will close. So that's really a happy lens, and I hope you can use the info in this video to probably fix your lens. That's all for me. Hope you enjoyed. See you sooner. Bye bye.